Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I'm having some technical difficulties downstairs with the camera equipment and stuff. So some of you guys probably noticed that I'm using my webcam for the last few videos. But I feel like that's fine because you guys don't... Oh, my cat. You guys don't really have to look... Oh wow, she's so loud. You guys don't really have to look at me. It's mostly like about the content anyway. I'm gonna silence my phone. And yes, I have an iPhone 5. It's very like low sensing of me, I guess. Alright, today I wanted to talk about an E in the 8 positions, and it is such a exciting thing for me because after I finish this video, I would have finished this entire series, and I really feel like I haven't finished any of the series that I started. So NE is basically perceiving and connecting abstract concepts and possibilities in the present moment. Each idea is unlike the rest and equally possible. So I like to call NE the ideator because multiple ideas of what could be seems to be kind of more interesting than what actually is. Alright, so for the dominant NE users, these people tend to perceive endless and often contradictory abstract concepts in the present moment, accepting all of them as possibilities. They tend to seek out novel ideas and perspectives and often trying them out. So I feel like that is key, the trying them out part. Pretty much all the ENFPs and ENTPs that I know, which is not like a whole lot, but I know a few of them, like at least 4 on the top of my head, so probably more. They've all had interesting lives, I guess, or lives with a lot of change. Okay, so the ones that I'm thinking of, they've undergone huge career changes and they've undergone huge changes in location of living. But it doesn't have to be like that. It could just be like they traveled a lot, or it could be they changed their hobbies a lot, or failing all of that, maybe they just changed their political or philosophical beliefs a lot. So a life that's undergone by a lot of change because they need to first explore what's conceptually possible with an E before they realize what is right or logical for them for their TI or FI. Well, I guess I should also maybe talk a little bit about how the people are. I tend to see them as very optimistic people, almost even like a bit confident in that they see possibilities at every corner, and yeah, nothing is closed-ended. Like wherever they are, they're not stuck there. They can perceive something differently, and then in perceiving something differently, it becomes their new reality. Alright, moving on to the auxiliary and E users. These people take conscious effort to perceive numerous abstract concepts in the present moment, and they tend to seek out novel ideas and perspectives as well, but they tend to only try them out when they are congruent with what their internal judgment system thinks is correct or logical or sensible. So their FI or TI has to kind of approve it before we apply the NE idea to our way of life, like before we take action, whatever action it is on the NE. So I guess, for example, like I've read different, I guess, thoughts about morality or, philosophy in terms of like, how best to live your life. And, I read a lot of perspectives, but I basically only applied like one. But then that perspective turned out to be, this is like a long story, that perspective ended up being quite not good and it didn't work out well and it was kind of destructive to my life. So scratch that and continued on finding different perspectives and then trying one that I think works. So yeah, I guess maybe FI and TI, they don't always know what's actually going to work out in the real world. We tend to follow our ideals and sometimes it doesn't work out that well. So the main difference is that we judge and then try instead of try and then judge. Moving on to the tertiary and E people, these people, they may not perceive a high amount of abstract concepts in the present moment, not as high anyway, but they tend to value creativity, alternate possibilities, and multiple perspectives. They tend to be adept at perceiving multiple ways to get to a goal with the help of their extroverted judging function, so that's their TE or FE, though their grounding in what has concretely come before tends to be more externally evident than their open-ended nature. So I think that the tertiary and E people are actually very open. I feel like in some ways, they're more open than the auxiliary and E people. Okay, so maybe the tertiary and E would only want to do something that's congruent to their TE and FE, but what you should remember is that they're not as tethered down by their FI or TI. So they're not going around judging things as like, this is useless or this is illogical. They're kind of going with the moment with their JE. So they're blending into the emotional moment, or they're, constantly optimizing and seeing what works logically in the world. So they're very like present, what actually works in the world oriented. So their NE is just, their NE just helps out with that. So they will have creatively many ways to try to accomplish whatever JE goal there is. Now moving on to the inferior function. Okay, so these people, they may not perceive a high amount of abstract concepts in the present moment, which can lead to distrusting novel ideas and perspectives, especially ones that have not been concretely proven in the past. They may overcompensate by developing a thorough understanding of certain ideas, often those that already conform to and explicate what is inside their sensory storehouse. I've actually seen this in so many examples, but like they might pick a, I guess, stereotypically an E topic and understand every aspect of it. So for example, like maybe I have a very, very cursory knowledge or interest in philosophy and psychology, but an SI dominant, they might pick something that they like or is relevant to their personal past and like know everything about it. Like they will list every psychologist and remember who wrote what, or they'll list like every philosopher. So it's like a very thorough understanding because they consciously value NE. They consciously value the world of ideas. So the whole like not perceiving a high amount of abstract concepts, it doesn't really mean that these people are really traditional or non-creative, which I'm saying because that's a stereotype, but I find the stereotype to be untrue. It's more like, for NE, it's more how you apply it in your personal life. So unlike the ENPs who are just applying every concept that they know, the SI dominants, they might entertain a lot of these ideas. They might talk about a lot of these ideas and think about them, but they tend to not apply it into their lives. So what they do in their life is just repeat the same thing, relatively the same thing that they've done, unless, there's a like midlife crisis or something. And we can think of it on a micro scale too. Like it might not be their entire life. It might just be how they do one task. Like say the laundry. Okay, this is so silly, but honestly, like sometimes for menial tasks that are supposed to be done the same way every day, like laundry, I get bored with it at times and I think, oh, maybe there's like a new way to do it so that it's more efficient or so that I enjoy it more. But for these little things, the SI dominant tend to like just do it the same way. Now, fifth position are people with dominant in I. These people can perceive numerous abstract concepts in the present moment, but tend to prefer only the ones that relate to past concepts that have been deepened over time in their subconscious, subjective, introverted intuition, leading some to see them as single-minded. They tend to dislike what they perceive to be the futility of chaotically entertaining any idea, regardless of whether it has potential applications and long-term merit. So, yeah, this is pretty straightforward. They need something that they can actually foresee happening in the future, that's their NI, and something that has a more externally feasible purpose, whether that's more TE leaning or FE leaning. But they can definitely keep up. I think, I would say they can keep up with like talking like an NE user, talking to like a dominant NE user, but it might feel kind of pointless to them why you must jump from one topic to the next without finding the purpose and depth of the topic that you started off with. All right, moving on to the sixth position. These people can also perceive numerous abstract concepts in the present moment, as intuitives, and often use this ability to their advantage, whether that's to use their strong JE in more diverse ways or improvise concrete applications of abstract concepts. So yeah, depending on the TE or FE purpose, these people can think of like, it's hard to say whether it's SE or, it's really subconscious in E. I tend to think it's more like SE and JE put together, and it's combination of kind of functions put together, but like regardless of what it is, they tend to be able to apply their goals in like several random different ways. They can be quite adept at coming up with a variety of ideas and conceptual connections through a combination of kind of functions, but ultimately prioritize ideas that can gain depth and applicability over time. So some of you might think that this is very similar to the ESTJs and ESFJs. And yeah, I think it is very similar. I feel like it's very difficult to tell in this case, but I would just say that the sixth position in E people, they can improvise quickly with their SE. They can come up with a bunch of uses in the current moment, but they generally have a more singular focus, whereas the NE people tend to have a more spread out focus. Now, moving on to the seventh position, or people with tertiary in I. So these people do not perceive a high amount of abstract concepts in the present moment, often failing to see alternative possibilities, especially when they are focusing on what is happening concretely right now, leading some people to see them as grounded or practical. They tend to have trouble fully opening up to present conceptual possibilities, instead drifting off to their singular predictions of the future, leading people to see them as linear. It's hard to explain with like the tertiary in I, but I would say that the ISFPs, ISTPs are more concerned with what is in the here and now concretely and all the personal ideas that they have solidified. A lot of people with the Jordan Peterson thing are like, how can you say that he's uncreative? I don't think that having blind spot in E means uncreative. It's like instead of entertaining a million ideas, they have these like strong strong convictions of ideas that they've developed over time that build upon each other. And so yeah, it's NI is very different from NE. So instead of thinking of like, well, this like 4 ideas are possible here, they tend to have like, well, based on what's happening right now in the concrete world, obviously this one idea is more applicable or correct. All right, moving on to the eighth position, people with inferior in I. So these people, they also do not perceive a high amount of abstract concepts in the present moment, but they often seem to make up for it through their thirst for present concrete experiences, perhaps prompting them to be enthused about seeing how some concepts work practically, prompting others to see them as open-minded. They do not explore the conceptual for its own sake, but as a byproduct of exploring the sensory artifact surrounding those ideas. Yeah, so when you first look at an ENFP and ESFP, for example, it's kind of hard to tell them apart. Like, it truly is. They're gonna be trying a bunch of stuff. They're both leading with extroverted perceiving functions, so they're open-minded and talking about a lot. But if you look closely, the experiences of the SC dominant are going to be more focused on the thing itself, and the NE ones are going to be more focused on the idea behind the thing itself. And when they talk, it's also like a little bit different. Sometimes it's very similar because they both jump from topic to topic, kind of, but when they're very prolific in their speaking, the SC dominant tends to talk about, if they're talking about an idea, they tend to talk about the concrete examples of that idea. So, oh God, let's say we're talking about poverty, they might talk about like Africa and Asia, yeah, like specific instances of that. Whereas in E, they might talk about poverty and talk about greed, which would be a related concept, and then talk about human nature, another related concept, and so on and so forth. All right, I hope that was helpful, and that after this video series is now over, that you can type yourself and others It's really hard to type others, honestly, when you first start. I would say it's probably easier to type yourself, so hopefully this video has helped with that. If you would like my personal evaluation of your kind of type, I do offer that typing service on my website, kindof8.com. If you enjoy these videos, do consider pledging your support on Patreon. It means a lot to me. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Alright, so before I go, this is very exciting. Like, I have so many ideas for the next video series to come. I'm leaning towards like what is an INFP, and that for all the types. Like, what is an ISFJ? Yeah, I want to do, you know those like Michael Pierce videos that are really, really good? I want to make ones like that. I don't know, just so that my channel can have it. I feel like it's like a very basic thing that all channels should have, and that should be like a lot of work. Like, if I do those like voiceover plus picture slides, it's gonna be a lot, but hopefully it'll be worth it and you guys like the series.